Praise the Lord, my Lord, the two mega prophets of the Lord, please.
Yes, surely the conversation you're having with my daughter there is very powerful. The Lord really demands that the Christians show the salvation of the grace that they received. The Lord demands that when somebody is born again, that salvation has to be vivid. It has to be seen open outwardly in the way you live your life, in the lifestyle you live, your compassion towards the poor, those who are hurting, your compassion to those who are in misery and pain. So it is true, I agree with you people that it's not a joke. It's not a joke to be born again. And even the way the Lord has rebuked the church now and exhorted her to go and meet the poor, those who are hurting. And I know that those who are in pain, in hospitals and so forth. For example, today the example I did not give you is today when one of our broadcasters at the radio, Senior Pastor Ian, when Senior Pastor Ian decided to join them to go to the hospital today, and they entered the psychiatric ward. And then when he came back, he testified in the church and said, "Pale sio pahali pa mchezo." He said, that place is not a place for joking around. Evangelism is not a joke. You don't send a young bishop, a young pastor, a young evangelist, a young girl, a young boy, just to go and evangelize like that out there in that kind of ministry. And he said, for example, when they entered there, sio pahali pa mchezo. When they entered the psychiatric ward today, three of those lunatics there, and they are aged people, were absolutely naked, ile uchi wa mnyama, when they entered that ward. So it's not a joke. The people the Lord is sending us to love, it is not a joke. It calls for your transformation, that your heart was transformed and you're totally sold out for Christ. They say when they entered, they found three of the lunatics in that were totally naked like an animal, total naked, not even, and they slept like that the whole night. Total naked as they were born. And they're very mature adults, they're very senior people. Some are senior, some are very, very mature adults. And that's why when they entered there, when Ian came back, Senior Pastor Ian, our broadcaster at the radio, he testified, he said, "Pale sio mahali pa mchezo. Hiyo huduma sio huduma ya mchezo." That place is not a place for joke. That ministry is not a ministry, a light ministry at all, a simple ministry. It calls for total sold out for Christ, and you have a heart for it. And you see when Wachira, when Senior Elder Wachira began to talk to them, they all sat down and listened very attentively. You see the favor of God. So it is true, as you're having this discussion with my daughter live on radio here, it is not a joke. The Lord is calling the church with all her heart. It is not going there and dumping half a loaf of bread and a pint of milk and walking away, or sending someone to send them fruits that take them the following fruits, take them the following bread or cake. No, it has to be from the heart. Sometimes you find that they have smeared their feces the whole night. Someone has smeared his feces with the whole soil, the whole floor right on the ground. And so when some of our teams go there, then they realize that it's a ministry that is not a joke. What Jesus is calling the church to do calls for total compassion. You have to be fully converted, Bishop, my son, Senior Bishop Faustin, fully converted in your heart for you to be able to do this. And you'll do it naturally. You'll do it seamlessly, effortlessly, once you're fully converted. And you can now see that the salvation that the present-day church has lived, and the salvation of the Bible, the biblical salvation that the Lord called us to live, are totally two different salvations. And you see that what will matter to Jesus for your entry is this one here now. That you went out and fed the hungry, you gave a drink to the thirsty, took care of those, you took them in, those who were strangers, those who were homeless, and you took care of the sick, you took care of those that were in trouble. They have nowhere to go to. They are destituted. They are in misery and pain. But that is really what the Lord is calling us to. It's a serious calling He's calling the church to. For example, again, when our team joined them today to that psychiatric ward, they realized that this ministry is not a joke. So they found that three of them, very senior adults, were totally naked like they were born. Very senior people, adults, but total nakedness. So that ministry is a ministry that calls for total conversion and being born again. Thank you.
Praise the Lord, my Lord, the mightiest prophets of the Lord, please.
And one other thing I did not mention is that, you know, in that kind of deplorable situation, when people are very sick, for example, in the hospital, they are very ill. Many times if you go to the hospital, you will find that maybe someone who has no relative. Nobody has ever visited that person. They were just brought in by a good Samaritan, and they are lying there, and maybe the stomach is so huge, and they are seeing other patients being visited, but for them they are not visited because the hospital does not even know where they come from, who their relatives are. And when you get close to talk to them, you say, "How are you?" She says, "I'm just like this." And what is going on? He says, "You see, this huge stomach I have is, the doctors say my tumors are so many, they're inoperable. They have spread all over the body. It's not possible to operate me. They said it is too complicated to operate me. So I'm just here waiting for my day." That's what the doctors have said, that this will finish me. Hii itakumaliza. So when they're in that state, you know, nobody is visiting them anywhere. And then what is very shocking and very disturbing is that sometimes now you get the fallen pastors, the apostate pastors going to hospitals, the so-called apostles. They go in there and they start telling them that, "You see this tumor here, it will finish you. And the reason you have this tumor is because you did not pay tithe." They start distributing envelopes in the hospital ward where people are very sick, telling them that the reason they are sick and the reason they are going to die of their diseases is because they never paid tithe. So that becomes such a tremendous assault. I mean, when we had that, we wept very bitterly. We really wept and it was shocking to know that the church has fallen that far. So there is the other side also. The fallen church comes in there and gives them envelope, and you find her saying, "Yes, it is true. Ni kweli kama ni fungu la 10, mimi kusema ukweli sikulipa, sijawahi kulipa hiyo. Lakini ambia Mungu anirehemu tu, anisamehe, kwa maana daktari amesema hii kitu itanimaliza, itaniua." So it's a situation. They're saying, "Please, it is true, I never paid tithe, but tell the Lord to forgive me." So they subject them to trauma. The fallen church goes there to distribute envelopes. Can you imagine? So there is another side of the misery that goes on there, and the tragedy of the fallen. You know, the Lord will have to judge. The Lord will judge those pastors very severely. But there is another side, whereby the fallen church comes with envelopes and tells them the reason you have this cancer is because you never paid the tithe. And they distribute envelopes. They tell them when your relatives come, tell them to put the tithe there. Then the Lord will heal you. So it's a very sad scenario, but the Lord is asking the church to go and love the unlovable. And freely you are given love by Christ, freely you give. Thank you.